All right, thanks everybody for checking out Mentor the Beast. I've got Scotty Roessler today with me, and tell them a little bit about yourself, man.
Appreciate you having me here, Lon, and
Absolutely.
all the folks out there that are listening. My name is Scotty Roessler. I grew up in Montana, briefly. Parents divorced and moved to Portland, Oregon, which is a pretty volatile place right now. Finished up high school, joined the military, spent 10 years in the 75th Ranger Regiment. I had a break in service from 98 until 9/11 kicked off, and I went back in and went back to Ranger Regiment. Did 5 combat tours with 1st Ranger Battalion based out of Savannah, Georgia. Was all over Afghanistan and Iraq, up in Mosul and all over the western side of Afghanistan for the most part. And then 2007, I left Ranger Regiment to go be a Green Beret. Spent a year at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which is not the most hospitable place to raise a family. But I knocked out the course. Took about a year. You learn a language and how to understand and operate within an unconventional warfare environment, and it was pretty neat, learning all that kind of stuff. Which was a transition from Ranger Regiment. Find, fix, finish, show up with overwhelming force and fire superiority and speed and violence and win, and then go back and take a cat nap and go back and do it again the next night. It was pretty.
So what's the
contrast between the two?
Biggest difference between the Rangers and the
Ranger Regiment is very, very, very good. The best light infantry unit on planet Earth. Extremely disciplined. They have extremely high standards that are enforced. If you don't meet the standard, it's the only unit in the military that can get rid of you and send you back to the regular conventional forces.
Okay.
If you don't meet the standard, you're done. So it's super competitive within each other's, within the ranks. Everybody wants to be the best. It holds each other accountable.
Sure.
It's just a great place to start your military career. It's tough to stay there forever because you put a lot of wear and tear on your mind and body. But the guys that have stayed there since I left to go pursue a special forces career prior to retiring are hard as nails.
Sure.
Yeah. So when I left in 2007, I went to the Special Forces Qualification course. Spent a year there. Like I said, learned a new language and a bunch of other non-conventional methods to achieve success in battle, to meet the commander's intent.
Yeah.
By, with, and through indigenous forces, doing a lot more with less. Living in a cave, teaching guys how to use a pretty complex radio. Send them out to go find the bad guys, work the radio. You get their distance and direction, you laze a target or a bad guy meeting, and we call in air support to take care of business. That was early on, right? And then we moved in there and set up shop in these indigenous villages to befriend, gain their trust, help them dig some wells, build some mosques, improve their road and infrastructure, bring in some seed distribution to help them grow something other than poppy and marijuana, right?
Sure.
And then once we've gained all their trust, they're starting to make some money. The elders in the village have some wasta. Their people are happier. We get them to give us their fighting age medals, and we teach them how to defend their little village, right? Some basic army infantry tactics and techniques. Now we just improved our 12-man ODA, our 12 Green Berets now we're a force of a couple hundred.
That's awesome.
Once we have that established, and it takes time,
Sure.
we can go out and start increasing what we call the white space in that village, pushing the Taliban further and further away.
Okay.
And that provides security, stability, and eventually they vote in their first duly elected president. And that's fast forward to today. We're pulling out of there, and at some point they got to take the reins and run with it themselves. But I think that the United States has done, and 36 plus coalition countries that helped stabilize things and change their economic infrastructure from selling dope to pushing out rugs and pomegranates.
There you go.
So anyway, I did 6 more combat deployments with those guys. I was eventually deployed 6 times to Afghanistan and 5 in Iraq. And retired October of 2018. Started doing some contract stuff on the side, was going through a divorce. And once I got debt free, I, peeled back, getting out. I wanted to spend more time with my kids being retired. I missed a lot of my son's early 6, 7 years because I was deployed nonstop. So now I'm retired. I'm enjoying retirement life, and I get to take my kids to school and pick them up from school and help them do their homework, feed them, tuck them in, wipe their tears off their face. I love it. So being retired's been good. It took me about a year into it to figure it all out, to find peace after doing what I did for so darn long. It was a little bit of a struggle, but I'm going to share that story with you guys and just briefly cover 3 or 4 things that really helped me get back down on planet Earth and stay happy and successful and become a good dad and a good addition to society outside of protecting us.
So yeah. So you were telling me last time we spoke a little bit about some of the things that you did while you were in the military, right? And the blasts and blast waves and having PTSD and TBI. So can you tell us a little bit about how it kind of got that and then how that affects you and what you've done? To be the best weapons. What do I say? So to be the best superior force on planet Earth, our army is by far the best army on Earth. No one compares to us. It's just a fact. And our guys are smarter, faster. Guys and gals are smarter and faster, fight harder, and the weaponry is constantly being improved, right? So with that comes more and more injuries. And what we've discovered is that the overpressure from some of our high caliber weapons, the bombs, the explosive breaching that we used to do, we're still doing. We didn't really think that overpressure was all that big of a deal. Sure.
For example, we got to hit this structure. There's a bad guy. There's Osama bin Laden in there with 100 fighters. We got to get in there and we got to take him out. We're expecting casualties, so we're going to do multiple breach points to confuse the enemy and flood it with all of us and our partner force, keep the momentum in our favor, right? So all these breaches are going off. You're only about, depending on how much of a door or locking mechanism or gate, whatever it is, depending on what it's made out of, you're going to base your charge and your minimum safe distance to that charge off of whatever you have to defeat, right? So let's just say it's a metal door. You place the charge and you peel your guys back about 7 to 10 feet, preferably around a corner, because we used to think that if you were behind a corner, the blast waves would go elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't realize until a couple of years ago that those blast waves go through concrete, steel, they fall to the earth and they go in all 360 degrees. It doesn't matter if you're behind a wall or not. What's good about being on a corner is you're not getting all the debris and explosive breaching tape all over your Oakleys and whatnot. However, we've had veterans that have expired, passed away, that have volunteered their brains for study. Very similar to the NFL football players that has been diagnosed with CTE, which is multiple hits to the head, traumatic brain injury over and over and over during the job, right? And then they start to lose their minds. They get Alzheimer's and dementia, and some of them have taken their own lives, but they've all volunteered their brains for study to try to help their brothers that are still pushing up and down the 100-yard football field. Same thing in our community, in the special operations community. We've had a number of guys volunteer their brains for study. And what they discovered is we've got similar brain activity, similar damage to the brain as a football player's CTE. Ours is just called TBI, traumatic brain injury, but it's almost identical. And under a microscope, what it looks like is that we have sprinkled pepper all over the brain, and that little black speck is a protein that's not supposed to be in there from the blasts, from the constant overpressure damaging our organs, right? And we're seeing guys coming down with the same stuff, dementia. You know, it starts off with some memory loss, migraines. Can't recall everything that you went through all those years. My memories starting to fade a little bit here and there. And my girlfriend, Jennifer, keeps me on track. But I'll forget simple stuff. People's names and who was that person again? You hung out with them all night, you don't remember? And I'm like, oh yeah. But if I put keys down somewhere other than the front door little basket that she came up with, I'm like, where the hell are my keys? I immediately flip out a little bit. Not crazy, but I'm like, good God, what did I do with them?
Yeah.
It's not just getting older. You know, I'm 44. I still have a good IQ. I'm knocking out some college online and getting good grades and whatnot, but it's just your day-to-day living, little things that you used to cherish or start to slip. So I volunteered when I was going through my initial phase of rehabilitation after all those tours for a TBI study, because I got diagnosed with moderate TBI. There's mild, moderate, and severe. Severe, you're in a wheelchair, you need constant 24/7 assistance. Guys with multiple combat tours in the special operations community, they're gonna get diagnosed with it eventually because of all of our heavy weapons and blasts. You know, being a master breacher, you're building all the charges that the guys are using on the missions, to include yourself. But you gotta do a lot of tests. You gotta do a lot of test shots and stuff like that. So you're constantly being exposed to those blast waves. So without going down the rabbit hole any further, when I was getting close to retirement, I got back from my 11th deployment in 2015. I was losing my mind. I was drinking constantly. I was fighting. I'd go out in the bars and I'd see an asshole and I'd just go put myself in his purview so I could piss him off to the point where he wanted to throw down and I'd get into a fight. Trying to find the adrenaline that I was missing after all those tours. I was just going back and forth.
Sure.
Just before becoming a train wreck, I would take off on another deployment and go do what I'm good at. You know, my command, I was E8 Master Sergeant. I was running a team of Green Berets at that point, and I finished that phase of my career and was trying to figure out any way possible to keep going back. And I got ordered to meet him in his office at a specified time that afternoon. And I said, okay. Didn't know what was going on. I thought one of my guys got in trouble or something. I showed up and my surgeon was sitting in his office next to him. He goes, come on in and sit down. I'm like, what's going on, gentlemen? Well, you know, Trip, my surgeon at the time, Trip's gonna tell you about a program that I'm gonna send you down to. I'm like, program? What kind of program? Hey, Scotty, so there's this program. They didn't want to tell me right off the bat because I was about to get up and walk out. It's called PrEP. I'm like, yeah, PrEP for what? You know, post-deployment rehabilitation program. No, not doing it. Yeah, you are. My colonel's sitting right there. Yeah, you are. No, sir, respectfully, it's medical stuff. I can tell you guys no. It's my choice. I'm not going to the shrink. I'm not going to the mental bin. You guys made me this way. You asked me to deploy, I said yep, and I went there and I met your commander's intent and I brought all my guys back. So what's the problem? This is the goddamn problem. And he slammed his fist on the desk and he said, you're gonna end up dead or in prison. I know what you've been doing. I know what you're up to. You're losing it. You're the shit overseas. You're the best team sergeant I've ever had. Blah, blah, blah. And he's helped me stay focused on, you're not a piece of shit, Scotty, but you're definitely losing it when you're back here.
Yeah.
You know, I had a shitty marriage at that point. I didn't have really a relationship with my kids because I was constantly gone. So when I got home, I was a train wreck. I couldn't find peace at the house. I'd take off and go hang out with buddies I just spent 8 or 9 months with overseas fighting. And all we do is tell the same stories and drink copious amounts of alcohol and get trashed, right? So I took him on his offer. Otherwise, I was going to get into a more heated debate. I didn't want to go there with somebody that I respected it as much as Colonel Fitch and my surgeon back in those days. And I took off to that program. I spent 4.5 months there. I had to do a minimum of 3 weeks. If I left before that, I would get in some Uniform Military Code of Justice, UCMJ disciplinary action. I can't remember what that acronym is anymore. I've been out for long enough. That's good. So I took his offer. I said, I'll drive myself down there because I'm going to come home on the weekends to see the kids. I'm not staying there like it's a deployment. So they said, that's fine. I got down there, first few weeks, I didn't want anything to do with it. I had to sit down with the shrink for 2 hours in the morning and go through what's called exposure therapy. So day one, I sit down with Mrs. Thors, Dr. Thors, who I really do appreciate her and cherish her to this day. So Scott, let's talk about your traumatic incident. I'm like, what do you mean incident? I've been deployed nonstop. I got to do 2-3 hits a night. Every now and then we'll hit a dry spell. A couple days we ain't got any intel on where we need to go and who we need to go kill. But it's every night. So what do you mean, what incident? I don't sleep because I kill a lot of bad guys. I don't sleep because I've seen a lot of my friends die. And I had so much hate and anger at that point in my life from all the tours adding up and this, that, and the other. She asked us the perfect question because it got me talking. So she's a genius. And eventually, she's like, just pick, 5, 6, 50, 100 things that you think about a lot that you were exposed to during those, moments of crisis and battle and whatnot. And, survivor's guilt. You come home and you didn't get to see your buddy put it down or lay to rest, but you are there to see the wife struggling and the kids struggling, and it's heart-wrenching. But so a few months into it, another nonprofit, the Special Operations Care Coalition, flew my wife and kids down to hang out with me through Halloween. And they got all of us full day night passes for Disney World, who goes all out for Halloween. It's one of the coolest events. Was it Halloween or Christmas? I think it was Halloween. Because they had ghosts and goblins everywhere, and the Headless Horseman running through.
That's so cool.
Kids loved it.
Yeah.
But the one thing my son said, man, you look happy, Dad. And I don't want to get emotional. So it was the first time that little man felt comfortable enough to start having a conversation with his dad. Which was huge. So I decided to stay a little bit longer. And I stayed for another 2.5 months. And I really put in a solid effort with all the doctors, 8 different doctors, experts in their field of study: neurology, psychology, pain management, physical therapy, meditation, yoga. I was going out and helping out the Haven House, giving those in need assistance. So it was really well structured. It's still there. They've expanded it so that more veterans can get access to it, because there's only 7 or 8 beds. And you're living in the hospital, surrounded by all these awesome doctors every day, and great nurses in the evening. They piss test you every Sunday, so you're not there self-medicating to try to fake the funk during the week and then go get blasted and do drugs or alcohol on the weekends. So it helps. It's a rehabilitation in all aspects of life.
Sure.
So yeah, super awesome program. About 4.5 months into it, I felt, hey, I think I've reached my peak of getting better at this stage, so I'd like to get back to the kids. And I was sleeping better, my attitude was better, wasn't stressed out as much, I wasn't having that fight or flight issue as bad, it was manageable. And I got back to the unit, went back to work. And everybody thought, what happened to Scotty? He's so calm, he's different. Did they give him a lobotomy? And I was hearing all kinds of, what's up, dude? You wanna go out and party this weekend? No, I'm good. I'm gonna hang out with the kids. I had different I changed my focus, but it didn't last forever. I started slipping back into my old ways when the stresses with the relationship were starting to get out of control. With my ex-wife, I'd go back to boozing with my buddies and find peace that. So I was going back down that rabbit hole. My surgeon was keeping eyes on me. And he's like, hey, bro, you want to link up for lunch tomorrow? I was like, nah, I don't know. I wanted to see you at work on Monday. No, let's link up for lunch, bro. Come on, let's get some sushi. Okay, fine, let's go get some sushi. So I link up a trip. He's like, hey, man, there's this new program. I'm like, no, I'm not doing another program, bro. I just did it. No, this is a shot in the neck. It's called the Stellate ganglion block shot. And they did a study on 80 operators, Rangers, Green Berets, Delta Force, Navy SEALs, and they got amazing results. Results for what? Like, you know, the PTSD stuff. And at that point, I didn't really want to talk about PTSD. Like, I'm not retarded. I got my shit together. I'm still a good operator. We just, at that point in time, we didn't want to say we had issues because you didn't want to you didn't want to get pulled off the team because you're a psychopath and we don't know how to fix you yet. So we're not going to jeopardize our careers and let you stay on the team and become a tower shooter. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. And that was the biggest concern. So everybody's like, man, I don't got any problems. Nope, I sleep fine.
Feeling good. Everything's good.
Everything's great at home. Okay, great. Next guy. We all would say the same talking points and move on and stay on the teams and keep deploying. So at that point in time, the Special Operations Command across the spectrum of all, you know, SEALs, Rangers, Green Berets, MARSOC, AVSOC, they realized we got an epidemic. General Votel was in charge of SOCOM, Special Operations Command at that point, and he wanted focus on that. We're not going to focus on new weapons or new gear, new clothes for the guys, new boots. We're going to focus on how to fix them, because that 22 a day statistic, a lot of those 22 are coming out of the Special Operations community. And we're $1 million soldiers. You know, we're sniper, we're elite trained, jumping out of planes at 15,000 feet, scuba diving for hours on end, sniping for several thousand meters away, which is difficult. Trained to talk to the pilots, drop the bombs on target and not kill civilians. The vast training that our guys go through, doesn't matter what branch you're in, but the Special Operations community as a whole. They did a study years ago, decades ago, like these guys are $1.8 million. That's the tax dollars invested in this one operator. And we need twice as many of us because the demand for us to go fix stuff across the global spectrum.
Well, there's so many things that y'all fix. You don't take out the bad guys. You go in there and set up shop and help them
win their hearts and minds, establish a connection, put good thoughts in their heads when they think of U.S. military. It's part of the unconventional warfare breakdown. You go in and you establish relationships, and you maintain those relationships through an acronym that we call FID, Foreign Internal Defense. That means we're going in there, there's no war, they're a friendly host nation, and their military isn't as great as they want it. So we're gonna go spend 6 months living, breathing, eating with these guys. They're best they got, best of the best in whatever country, say Afghanistan or Colombia or El Salvador or anywhere on planet Earth other than Russia, China, Cuba, and that's about it. We've got Green Berets in over 80 countries. My stats are probably old and outdated, however. They're not at war at all those locations. They're doing foreign internal defense. They're keeping a relationship established. They're working out of the embassies. They're training with the host nation's military, making them a little bit better, making them, fixing their weapons, giving them lessons learned from our multiple tours of war and how we're fighting this terrorist agenda and whatnot. And then eventually, if there's a war next door to their country or in their country, we've got access and placement. We can show up quick to help establish a C2 node and start defending them. Well, I ended up going to Walter Reed with my surgeon and got that shot. After I read through the study, like, sounds good to me. I get there, meet...
and this is the stellate ganglion block.
This is the stellate ganglion block. They run a needle through the side of your neck, past the jugular. There's a nerve bundle back here. Looks kind of like a triangle. So they got you hooked up with ultrasound. It's simple. It took 5 minutes. You go into pain management at any hospital, they got it. They've been given this shot for decades. Women get hysterectomies and they're all out of whack. Their hormones are making them crazy. They go in and get the shot, calms them down, it resets the clock.
Okay.
Pain management, for extreme pain management, it works for that, for some injuries and whatnot. And then when they did the study back in 15, while I was in prep was when they were actually running that study. Special Operations Command surgeon and Doc Mulvaney, who was a SEAL doc at the time, ran it, did the study, produced the results, and then Mulvaney retired, went to Walter Reed, and started pushing to the VA, hey, this shot works, here's our study, these are the subjects, and this was the results. We need to start giving guys that are diagnosed with PTSD the opportunity to take the shot, because it works. And it's going to be funded by TRICARE and the VA. Got through all the bureaucratic stuff, and they started issuing the shots. But at that point in time, the Army had to go see Walter Reed to get the shot. So was still in 7 Special Forces Group at the time, and I became the guinea pig, so to speak. But I volunteered. I was like, yeah, study sounds good. I don't think it's too evasive. I'll go do it. I get back and write up a study report, or a post therapy report, give it to my doc, and then he would produce it at his weekly or monthly staff meeting with the command and say, hey, Scotty, went and got a shot in the neck. It's called the stellate ganglion block. This is what it did. This is how he felt after the fact.
Sure.
So I got that shot. About 5 minutes after the shot, I sat up. And there was a bunch of other doctors in there at that point in time that hadn't been fully vetted or approved to give that shot to their guys when they were getting the vetted validation process knocked out at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a bunch of docs in there just watching. And I just remember the shot was done. It took literally about 5 minutes. I sat up and I was just doing a little self-analysis. I'm like, am I still a crazy guy? Do I still have it in me? Do I want to kill bad guys, or am I a window licker now? What's up? Because I didn't know what to expect. You know? And I felt great. It's like, man, I don't hate everybody in this room. I did when I first got here, but I don't hate all of you anymore. I really don't even care.
That's awesome.
I don't even know why I was thinking like that in the first place. And that's what blew my mind. For the next 24 hours, all I could think about was how hateful I was prior to getting that shot. Like, good God, I was out of control. It made me reflect on the crazy old man that I was prior to getting that first shot.
You were telling me when we talked about this previous that you that was like the first night that you'd ever slept without a lot of noise.
Yeah. So
being able, because you were having to take sleeping medication, right, to be able to sleep.
Yeah, my insomnia was off the charts. Unless I drank half a bottle of booze, I could not sleep. I would just sit there and watch one lifeless YouTube conspiracy theory after the next, or one snake eat one, village guy after the next. I couldn't focus, couldn't calm down, because I was so spun up, man.
Yeah, sure.
However, I could go to war, go out and chase down some bad guys, whether I kill any or not is irrelevant. Just going and doing the job, and then coming back, doing the post-mission, post-assault stuff back at the safe camp, right? Mm-hmm. Take a quick shower, lay down, and sleep like a baby overseas. But when I'm back in the United States, I can't sleep. That's not just me. It's pretty common across the board for guys that.
Is it like, so
your fight or flight response to the brain?
Is it one of those things where, like, you don't feel like, like my grandpa would always say, if you don't work, a man who don't work shouldn't eat.
Correct.
Is it kind of like that same kind of thing? You don't feel like you went and did your day's work.
Correct.
So you don't feel like you should get a good night's sleep type deal.
Yep. And it gets even worse when you retire. But as I wrap up my storytelling here, I'll tell you how I got better. And it's still a little bit of a struggle, but not as much as it could have been, or not as much as it was prior to.
So basically, it helps
exposing myself to some therapies.
This block, after all the things that you did, this helps you sleep.
It helped me sleep. It helped me calm down, but it doesn't last forever. I think it's based on the individual and how much you put yourself through.
Like relatively, about how long does it last?
The first shot, I've done 5 of them. It worked, so I'll do it again. The first one lasted about 4 months ish, and going back to that day that I got this first one,
Dr. Mulvaney's like, check it out. Go out, have a good time. Go have some beers with your buddies that live out here. Get dinner. Just do your thing. However, when you get back to your hotel tonight, turn off all the lights, no TV, no background noise other than the air conditioning. Don't take your sleeping pills, whatever you're doing now, whatever you've been doing to get a little bit of sleep. Don't do it tonight. And then write up a report in the morning when you wake up. Okay, good luck with that one.
So you need
because I always needed
sleep. Yeah.
some type of background chatter
Yeah, something.
to help me sleep. Because it replicates what you're dealing with over in the Middle East at the time. For me, for where I went to war, but I'm sure it's similar for Vietnam veterans and the rest. You always had the generators going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You got planes coming in and coming out, bringing in troops, bringing in equipment, pulling people out, blah blah blah. Just constant noise. And then every now and then you get mortared, and there's just something going on. But you figure out a way to sleep what you think is peacefully at night while you're recovering to go out and do the next mission, right? You get home, there's not all that stuff going on. It's too quiet.
Sure.
It drives you nuts. All you can hear is your ears ringing because of all the tinnitus and hearing loss. You hear little creaks and cracks, you're like, who the hell's in my room? And then the paranoia sets in. I slept for like 9 hours. I went out and had dinner with my best bud, Captain Ben Harrow, with his wife and kids, and one of my good buddies that I grew up with in 1st or 2nd Ranger Battalion, Todd Supernaut, and his wife, and had a great time, a little tapas bar, ate a bunch of really good plates of food, and I drank 1.5 Coors Lights. Before that shot, I would have slammed probably 7 or 8 double tall Jack and Cokes, and never went back to my hotel room or slept, and then slept on the plane ride back to Florida. For real.
Yeah.
Captain Ben Harrow, my old team leader, dude, where's my team sergeant? He lost both his legs in 2012, and recovered. He's a keynote speaker, and he's running a business in the airline industry. Matter of fact, just had another baby a couple years ago with his wife Gina. He's living the dream. He's an epitome of what you want to be if you lost your legs and had to go through that battle to learn how to walk again and whatnot. He's a super stud, but he was expecting loud, crazy Scotty that he remembers prior to his injuries, and I was just chilled out, like, dude, I don't want to mess this up. I feel great. I'm actually enjoying this food, and I'm not going to get shit-faced tonight. I want to see how I sleep because I haven't slept in years, right? Good on you, bro. I am so happy for you. That's actually what I was hoping you'd say, Scotty. I was hoping that you're not like, man, I don't want to get hammered with all these kids around and have an excuse to go get shit-faced later.
Sure.
I'm so glad. He told me this a couple days later. Anyway, I got back to my hotel room, did what Doc said, and I just went to bed. I woke up the next morning. I told Tripp, let's meet downstairs at 7, flight's at like 10. We'll take the train to Reagan or whatever airport I was flying out of. And he said, all right. So I walk down, or get in the elevator, get down to the lobby, and he's already sitting there. And he's looking at me, and he's like, I'm like, I slept like shit, this is a joke. God! And I smiled like, I slept like a baby! Like 9 hours, bro! I feel so goddamn good right now, I just want to hug you and kiss you. He's like, good, Jesus Christ, quit doing that to me. So you feel good? I'm like, I feel amazing. And he said, okay, on the flight back, can you just write it up? Let me know, the details so I can brief the command. Because they've been blowing me up this morning. They want to know how you're doing. Because we had a lot of guys struggling.
Sure.
I was just the guy that they picked to order to go get shit better because they know I'm very big into listening and taking orders and executing the task to the best of my ability. And that's what I did. So as soon as I got back, I did some back briefs, let them know how awesome the shot was, and after a few months, Eglin Air Force Base Hospital, pain management became a revolving door for Green Berets to go down and get that shot. And it's helped a lot of guys. Because rather than wait 11 tours to get better, they go and, anything in their life can start triggering downward spiral.
Yeah. And
And the team is now backed by the command as a whole
if one of your brothers is starting to show the signs and symptoms of some issues that he's not letting you guys know about, bring it up and send him to the shrink on the camp.
Mm-hmm.
He'll give him the referral to go to Eglin to get the shot, and he goes back to the team the next day. There's no more of this. We can't talk about it because you'll lose your spot on the team because everyone thinks you're going to be a detriment to getting the job
So
done.
now anything's starting to happen to you, just send you get it, and you
Yep.
come back and you're good to go.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Before I went and got mine, it was a little different thought process.
Sure.
Like, you thought for sure you're going to lose your job. You're going to be pulled away. They're going to think you're just trying to fake the funk so you can get out of doing your job. But that, thanks to the command element at the time and the guys that have followed their footsteps since then, their guys are doing better as a whole. The operators are doing a lot better as a whole. And then sharing the stories with the civilian sector and former veterans that haven't heard about that shot. It's a game changer for everybody. And then lastly, I did 47 hyperbaric oxygen treatment dives. Did 47 initially, and then I did 20 more, so 67 hyperbaric oxygen treatment dives. They put you in a hyperbaric chamber, seal it up, drop you down 2 atmospheres, which is 66 feet, and then they crank it up to 100% oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And I would lay in there for 70 minutes, hour and 10 minutes. And then they'd open the door, pull me out. After about 15 or so, my memory was getting better and my attitude, my overall well-being, I felt was improving.
Sure.
And people around me were like,
Now, was this prior to the shot?
Yeah,
Or was this after?
I got hot and heavy on the SGB. So post-deployment rehabilitation program followed by the dives, HBOT dives, followed by continuing to see my shrink at Eglin and keeping that goodness coming with letting things off my chest and putting those memories in the filing cabinet that our brain has
Sure.
the right way. And then it was probably 4 or 5 months, I'd say, after I got back from doing prep, followed by HBOT, is when I got the shot. And then that one shot led to 4 more over the course of the next year and a half before I retired. So I did one about a week before my retirement date, thinking, I might not be able to ever get one again, which is absolutely false. I can go get one right now if I call the hospital and set the appointment. And you know what? I'm probably due for one, so I might do that. But it's the COVID thing. I don't believe it. So anyway,
Right.
I don't like wearing masks either. Reminds me of terrorists.
Right. All right. So basically, that's the process that you went through to get yourself into a better place once you had
Yeah.
gone through the PTSD.
All those
TBI.
4 things are what
So now,
attributed to me making smarter choices in life. It made me stop drinking as much. It made me stop partying as much. It made me focus on the kids versus myself. It really helped me improve in a whole bunch of different aspects in life post the team room.
sure.
Life after spending every day with great guys that want to be better than you are. With, similar traits. Being on your own and raising kids. It helped me do a lot. All those 4 things. Every single one of them had something to do with me getting better.
So we talked about last time we talked about that. We also talked about kind of how you got support because you needed obviously
Like with
PTSD and
with the
TBI, and
benevolent organizations.
financially, how you were able to kind of get the benefits that you didn't know really how to get. A lot of people don't know how to get.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one of the things that we'll also focus on. So in the comments below, I'll link some websites and some different places you can go to see a list of things that you can do and kind of the order that you need to do them in to be able to get the benefits and take advantage of all the things that are available to the veterans. So if you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll just run through it briefly. Another old wives' tale is you never go to the doctor because you don't want to get pulled off the team because you're on the injured reserve list, so to speak. So you just suck it up. Or you go see a civilian doctor and pay a hefty copay and follow-up fees to have their stuff done off the radar. I know guys that did that. You got to start keeping track of all your injuries early on. It's no longer going to pull you off of a team unless, of course,
you got hemorrhage discs and you can't do Halo ops anymore and you're on a Halo team. But instead of just kicking you off a team and making you medically retire, they're doing all kinds of good stuff with our guys now. You know, go combat readiness training facility. It's a big fancy gym. You go work there in the advocacy section where you're helping guys that are coming back from combat in a wheelchair or just recently got out of the prep program, but they're still dealing with some spinal cord stuff and they need help with their day-to-day work routine. You go work out of that section until you figure things out. So one thing I learned a little late in the game that I like sharing is about a year out, you need to start getting your TBI study knocked out. You need to start basically annotating everything that you've been injured over the course of your career. And it doesn't have to be, you know, just because you got your legs and your head and your arms and feet, fingers, doesn't mean you're not injured. Irritable bowel syndrome. I'll go from one spectrum to the other. A sprained ankle, broken toe. Unless it's annotated in your records, the VA doesn't know what happened while you served for 20 plus years. Over the course of 23 years, I ended up with 37 diagnoses. 37.
That's a lot.
Chronic PTSD with anxiety and depression disorder is one of them. Moderate TBI is one of them. But then I got a whole list of other stuff that I wasn't aware of.
Like the tinnitus and all that.
Well, I knew I had ringing in my ears. I didn't realize how bad it was. I knew I had hearing loss in my left ear. I'm a right-handed shooter. It's usually the opposite ear that goes out for whatever reason. I didn't realize how bad it was. But once I got diagnosed, I'm like, maybe that's why I'm always reading people's lips. I thought I was just highly trained sniper. But I think it's me adjusting so I can stay in the conversation after losing my hearing. My spinal cord's jacked up. Got a bunch of hemorrhage discs that I wasn't aware of because I stayed in good shape. And I'm like, there's no way I got hemorrhage discs. I'm playing weekend warrior football, rugby and stuff. There's no way. But yeah, I had a lot of injuries. And from my head to my toe, 39 things were documented thoroughly. And then when I retired, I processed the paperwork with the VA. It took them a while. I wasn't real happy about it because I was struggling to pay bills and put food on the table for about 7 months. But once I got diagnosed, the VA came out with their rating for myself and it was 100% permanent and total, which is what you want, which is what you deserve, not only if you lived the infantry / combat arms lifestyle.
If you live through it.
If you make it, right?
Yeah.
Unless you go through the process, which is kind of painful. You know, you're dealing with a lot of different folks that you're not familiar, that you're not really, they're not your first round draft pick to go spend the whole day with. Mm-hmm. So you got to suck it up and just get through the process, because 7 months later, when I got the letter in the mail, your rating is 100% permanent and total. P&T means my kids get to go to any state institution tuition free, because Florida does that for veterans that are 100% permanent and total.
Okay.
And a lot of states do, not just Florida, but Florida, Georgia, Texas, I know those three for sure do it. They get TRICARE until they're 26 or 7, as long as they go to college, which they are because it's free.
Yeah.
Tuition free. I don't have to pay property tax on my house because I'm 100%. And the state of Florida honors veterans that are designated 100% permanent total with that benefit. And there's several other things that I'll steer you towards so you can add it on. Just set the links up on the bottom of this for folks to go check out themselves. It's a huge benefit for you. Whether you're single or have kids, it's well worth the investment in your time. And I'll send you the links for that. And maybe I'll give you my email. Guys can, if they're not picking up what I'm putting down on those links, they can shoot me an email and I can talk them through it that way.
All right, so we can just include that in links. Also, you can go to workingwarriortoday.com and you'll find a lot of the resources there to guide you through lists so you can know what to do and when to do it. We're also doing a fundraiser November the 7th for the Veterans Day, and that's going to be in Miami. It's a team building relay for the aviation industry. They put it so it's a closed event, but anyone can donate to it. Each team leader will have to complete anything that anyone on the team cannot complete. But all the money will go to the different organizations that we're doing. So we're looking forward to that. And
I also want to discuss a little bit about the benevolent organizations that have reached out to me and my son, who just finished up fighting leukemia June 20th of this year. He's cancer free now and,
that's awesome.
and back in school with his attitude. But the benevolent organizations, it really did help bring the family unit tighter. Kayaking down a river with 15 other vets for 3 nights, camping out, sharing stories, and just getting off the grid for a little bit. Really, you're laying there in a cot by yourself in the woods, listening to the crickets and stuff, hearing the water ripping by, and you think about how much more you have to live for, right?
Sure.
And so benevolent organizations were really big in helping me have positive energy around me. The folks that are involved in those, great, caring individuals that are trying to make people that are suffering have better opportunities in a safer environment.
Some of the people who will probably be listening will be getting close to the kind of end of the rope type thing. If that's happening, what would you suggest them do kind of immediately?
Yeah, if you're at the point now where you've reached out to friends, family, and you're not getting the support, everybody's different. I went through a phase where I was pretty close to taking my own life, and 2 things kept me from doing it. One being my 3 kids, and the other focus image in my head was my buddies that aren't here anymore. If they hadn't gotten killed in combat, they sure as hell wouldn't be taking their own life, right? If they had another chance to spend the rest of their life with their wife and kids, they would, and be the best human on earth. So I always tell people, I think that's what it was. That's what my heart tells me. Now that I'm not drinking all the time and clouding my judgment. But the 2 heartstring aspects that I think that I used as the focus to pull me out of the funk was the fact that I didn't want another man raising my 3 kids. And if I can raise a 500-man army in Afghanistan, I can take care of 3 little awesome kids, right? Because I was getting a lot of hate mail from the ex-wife. You don't care about your kids, you just care about drinking and partying with your friends and blah, blah, blah. So you hear that over and over again, you start to believe it a little bit. But I knew I could be a better dad. I just needed to focus on my kids more. And I wasn't going to take my own life. I wanted the opportunity to see if I could do it, so to speak. And I also didn't want to take for granted what I got. God let me get back from all those tours, and I owe it to all my buddies that aren't alive today to get better and quit being a Sally. In my mind, everybody's got their own issues to deal with, but mine were focusing on those 2 aspects. And there's a nonprofit out there called treatnow.org that will just look it up, www.treatnow.org, and it's a crisis hotline that have a bunch of great folks. There's a retired WWE superstar in there, Michael the Bear Clare. Used to be Dr. Squash way back in the day. He'd come out and agitate the crowd and then get his butt kicked in the mat and go back and play on the Grand Ole Opry. Wicked smart, huge dude. They'll reach out to me if you contact them. I'll get your contact information and we'll talk on the phone, and I'll tell you a lot of what you've already heard. But I'll reiterate that there are a ton of things out there. You just have to accept the help. There's a ton of things out there that help veterans or people that have gone through traumatic events, loss of family member. I hate to bring it up, but rape, abortion. There's a whole bunch of stuff that could put somebody in that rough patch. treatnow.org will explain the benefits, life-saving benefits of hyperbaric oxygen treatment therapy. And it's not inexpensive. However, they will pay for your first 47 dives, which is the magic number, according to all the doctors out there that are treating guys with PTSD and TBI and folks that are having issues with suicidal thoughts and cancer. It has a bunch of benefits that are yet to be FDA backed, but hyperbaric oxygen treatment has been around for decades.
Yeah.
Israel's been doing it for a long, long time. You go out and do an operation, fight, defending your border there, and they have them all set up for their military to use on a regular basis. They've been supporting HBOT therapy for tons and tons, multiple decades. There's a ton of research that you can just Google search HBOT, hyperbaric oxygen treatment, and start thinking about it. And if you're having suicidal thoughts, take a tactical pause from those thoughts. Look up treatnow.org. Get in touch with those great folks, and they will locate the nearest hyperbaric oxygen treatment facility where you live, wherever you are in the United States. And they'll coordinate funds and personnel to walk you through the front door, make the payment. You'll do 2 dives a day versus 1. You'll stay in a local hotel if you need to near it, and they'll send you. You'll also be getting some per diem to feed yourself until you finish it up.
Sweet.
So you do 2 a day, 7 days a week if they have it open 7 days a week, which most of them do. And once you hit your 47, treatnow.org will follow up with you, see how you're doing. And they had a 100% success rate last time I talked to Beret, which was about 2 weeks ago.
That's awesome.
Nobody has taken their life that's called up treatnow.org and started going through the HBOT therapy.
See, what do you think the main kind of holdback or drawback that somebody has to not
Reach out for help.
reaching out? Is they don't think it's there, or they don't know how to get to it, or is it a way that they feel about it, and kind of what could they do to get past that?
So 11 of my buddies that I worked with over the years are dead from suicide, from self-inflicted ones. And each time it happened, it tore me apart. On one particular case, a good buddy of mine that I love to death, miss him every day, was going through a rough patch. He had to retire early for some issues he had with dealing with at work while he was on active duty. Going from where he was at, the money he was making, to being out completely with a partial retirement. He was struggling. I didn't know how bad, and he was only one state north of me. I was living here, he was in Alabama. I don't want to give out all those details, but we spent probably an hour and a half to 2 hours chit-chatting on the phone while I was driving to Savannah, Georgia one night from here. I was taking my kids to go see their grandma and grandpa. And I could tell he was drinking. He was in his office, his man cave, watching Alabama football. And we were just going, he was drunk when he called me, I could tell. But he just wanted to shoot the shit. I could tell he just wanted to talk to his old Ranger buddy.
Yeah.
We worked together. We were in the same squad back in the day. Did 3 or 4 combat rotations together. Looking back at it, the next morning I wake up, my ex-wife's like, "Hey, you need to call Jake." I'm like, "Jake who?" Jake. You were his boss. Talking about Jake? Why the hell did I need to call that guy? I don't think I had his number. Because I hadn't talked to him since I left Ranger Battalion for the most part. I don't want to tell you, he just wants you to call him. I'm like, "Fine, give me his damn number." So I call him and he's like, "Bro, did you hear about our buddy?" I'm like, "No." I was on the phone with him for about 2 hours on my way up to Savannah. What's up? He hung himself. I'm like, "What?" No, he didn't. We talked about him coming to visit me, would bring his new girlfriend down to Florida and hang out for a week or 2 and maybe get back into work down here instead of dealing with the madness back in Alabama. He's dead, bro. He hung himself. And I couldn't believe it. I sat back and replayed the conversation I had with him over and over and over again. And one thing stood out. He said, "I love you," like 5 or 6 times over the course of those 2 hours. he was telling me, but he didn't say it.
Sure.
And he said it, I just didn't catch it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, otherwise I would.
Because you wouldn't think it, or you wouldn't think. Yeah.
From my perspective, based on where I worked and spent 20 plus years doing the job, when everything came to a halt, I woke up October 1st, 2018 in my bed and I had no job. It was like that. There's really no way to prepare the individual operator. It's like a huge punch to your chest. Now your ego is out the door. You're no longer this great guy that people either fear or respect. You don't have more rank. You don't have that job where you get to put that kick-ass green or tan beret on and march around like you own the world. You're done, right? So going through a divorce at that time, trying to be a good dad, you know, see the kids every other week, trying to get my debt to pay it off because we had accrued so much debt in our marriage. I didn't want to, I had to find a happy medium, so I started contracting. We were doing that contract stuff. You know, I met some good guys, and I met some guys I had worked with in the past that were doing the same thing, but we were all dealing with the same issues, is what I started realizing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was trying to kick the drinking. Everybody was trying to find a happier spouse, either going through a divorce or just got divorced, or you know, just wanted to be there with their kids. We all had the same talking points. So, you know, a good year into the retirement, I started asking myself, what has made me get a little bit happier so far? And it was just a steady self-reflection. You know, you put yourself through all those things to try to get better before you retired, and then you kind of just forgot about it, and now you got a self-pity thing going on. It's a struggle because you go from making a decent salary every month to next to nothing. Think about $2,200 was my rent, and I saved up enough money to pay all my bills for 3 months. I wasn't a complete jackass, right? I didn't blow every paycheck until my day I wake up and I'm retired. However, I was paying lawyer fees to push the divorce through, and I was having all these bills that were racked up over the course of a 12-year marriage that I was trying to make back to zero. But $2,200 a month was my rent. That's 95% of my retirement. The other $400 was put a little bit of food in the cupboard and gas in my tank to pick the kids up, right? And it took lots of benevolent organizations. It took a lot of pride from me. I had to dig deep to accept what they wanted to do. Organizations that sent me $2,000 in overnight FedEx with Publix gift cards. The hard part is going from being the leader, you know, at the proverbial tip of the spear. You know, you volunteer more than once to get to the level that you're at. You're less than half of 1% of all the rest of the guys in the military. You're told that you're the best each time you achieve this success, right? You're getting your medals and you're bringing all your men weapons and equipment back from war. And you have all these things that you pride yourself on that you use to set the example for others to follow, right? You're trying to be a good leader. You want to breed, mentor the next generation of leadership so that we maintain the best special operations task force the world's ever seen at this point in our existence. I mean, and then you get out and you're trying to simply just pay your bills and feed your kids, and you're struggling. Now let's add, I'm missing my legs. Let's add, my arm got blown off. I can't find a chick to stick around more than a month or two because my depression and anxiety and PTSD is off the charts, and I'm drinking heavy. And, let's say I'm in a wheelchair and I need somebody to help me 24/7 to get around, and I can't get a job. And you just compound that up to the point where I can't feed myself and put food on the table. I can't get a job. I'm struggling with the fact that I know I have issues, but I don't want to go get help. That's in my mind, from what I saw, the guys I know that took their own lives. It was a combination of all that. My buddy who hung himself, I mean, he wasn't in perfect great health. He was probably close to 100% disabled with all the stuff that I know he had been a part of, and I'm sure he had a very similar dossier of injuries such as mine. You just don't know when guys are suicidal. I mean, you're trying to get yourself figured out. If you're retired or out medically, whatever, and your buddies are struggling, you've got to line them up with some of these benevolent organizations and people like Treat Out of Work. Get in the car. We're going to pain management at Eglin. For what? You're gonna get this stupid shot, and so am I. We both need it. Let's go. And just
go with them.
Help open the door and go with them. Throwing them a phone number or checking out a website. Hey, check this website. It's gonna help. I ain't got time for that. I'm gonna go out and get shit-faced and find that hot chick that wants me. She's out there somewhere. Go chase the adrenaline. That's your fix for now. It's been my fix forever. I'm just gonna keep doing that. That's how I was till I started focusing on, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna kill myself. And I'm not gonna stay in the shitty loiter that I'm in right now. I'm gonna get better. And I'll tell you what, you live in the greatest country on earth. You can get better, but you gotta do it yourself.
I think we pretty much covered everything that somebody needs to kind of start finding help.
I appreciate the opportunity to sit down here and share everything I brought up. Good questions.
Absolutely, thank you.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate your time, brother.
Take care,
All
Lon.
right.